Is it hot in here, or am I just a hardcore gamer? So, hey you guys, it's day 33 of my daily UK lockdown videos, which I'm doing, you know, just as a way to kind of document the weird old times we're living in and how strange it was, and also, if I can, just to keep people company. And what I've done today is it's a bit of a random video idea. I just grabbed a couple of games off of my PS4 game shelf that I really like, and I thought I would talk to you about them. So, what should we start with? I'll tell you what we'll start with. Probably, I think, the oldest game here. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. The Last of Us. Now, I was a huge fan of this game when it first came out, honestly. And up until that point, I never played any games with any slightest bit of scary in them. But this kind of changed my mind because I wanted to play the story so much. And since then, it's one of those games that sandboxes are really big and popular, right? Like, almost every game these days seems to have some kind of big old sandbox style gameplay. And I love those games, right? So I play a lot of them, but what I've tended to find is that if I've played a lot of big sandbox games that aren't giving you clear direction, I kind of tend to lose focus a bit, and then I lose motivation to play them. This game is like my detox game, right? If I'm feeling a little bit like I need a game with some proper gratification, some linear kind of, you know, some linear style of gameplay, this I like because there is a fixed story, fixed characters, it's also clean, it's also well produced. Games that, you know, you can create your own character in, they're good, but also just kind of, everything needs to be a little bit generic, right? Like a little bit washed to make sure that your character fits it. And no matter how well you do it, Dragon Age does it well, I think, you know, we'll get to that in a minute. I think there's always going to be that kind of disconnect and knowledge that the story's not, it's not about them, right? It's about like the concept or whatever. It's not about their character. Do you know what I mean? So I think this is a really good example of game storytelling, and I would highly recommend it. And I know that that's such an old record by now because this is like, you know, the game people shout from the rooftops. It's almost like meme level known now, but you know, I just really like it. So why not talk about it next? Dragon Age Inquisition. Now, this was the first Dragon Age game I've played, and still to this day the only Dragon Age game I've played, but I absolutely loved it. I completely loved it. Now, if you haven't played them before, it's like a action RPG type. I don't know if it is action or just RPG, but it's got this kind of cool combat system that's faux turn-based, where it's actually in real time, but there's delays. You know, the kind of like Final Fantasy 13. What was that? Did you have a turn-based option in that? No, I feel like there was wait times, right? Been a long time since I played that. But this, I just loved. I absolutely loved. I loved the world they built. I loved the characters. I loved the character I made. And it's a really, really, really great story, especially considering that, like, you know, your character is, you know, you create your own character, and so everyone just refers to you as the Inquisitor. So there is a little bit of like, it's really good at immersing you into that role, but the character customization, I feel, and Mass Effect had this same kind of, Mass Effect was in the same way as Dragon Age good at making you feel like you were a involved character in the narrative, even though you were actually a character you just made. It's, I find it hard, like I'm not getting across my ideas about this very well, but there are some games that do character generation with character creation with storytelling well, and this is one of them. Like, it doesn't feel like a Skyrim where you could be anyone. Do you know what I mean? Really good, you know, fantasy RPG, swords and magic and medieval castles and whatever else. It's a really good, really, really highly recommend it. Now I guess some more modern stuff. What would be next? I think next chronologically would be Overwatch. I haven't actually played this in maybe 2 years. I don't know. But when I did, I really, really loved it. And I love that it has like a choose your own involvement kind of storytelling style. Like you could play this game and not know anything about the wider story, but diving into it with like the shorts and the comics and stuff like that is super satisfying. I really like all the characters, I like the design, I like the graphical style, I like the world they've built. And really, even though I know a lot of people found the game to sometimes be toxic or sometimes unbalanced, but I never played with voice chat and I got plenty of fun out of it. Do you know what I mean? I never got involved in online play, I never played voice chat. Well, I mean, obviously it's an online only game, you know what I mean, like competitive, ranked. Really, it never bothered me too much. And I think maybe that's why I got so much enjoyment out of it without coming away from it feeling bitter. I see a lot of people on Twitter who really hate it and, well, who show a lot of hate for it even though they still play it. And I think that that's a shame because maybe I don't play it now and maybe that's a good reason why, but I never really saw anything fundamentally wrong with the game. Maybe the balances weren't close enough or something like that. I really don't know, but it seems a shame that people seem to really hate it, unless it's done something terrible that I've missed. But also people love to be hateful on Twitter, don't they? So maybe that's contributing. Next up is Horizon Zero Dawn. I think this came out in like, what was it, 2018? And honestly, like, for me, it came out at a time that was very dense with sandboxy, find and craft, Far Cry style games. But there was something about this that just made it so different and something that made it actually feel so refreshing. And it was honestly the best surprise of any game I've played in a long while. Like, and by surprise, I mean like, it was just so engaging and so engrossing, and I loved the aesthetic of, like, you know, the primitive cultures that have built out of very modern technology and the way they integrated that into costuming and design of villages and stuff. It's just so sick. The art team on this did a really, really grand job, but it's just very good. I mean, I found myself at one point having a little bit of that too much choice, too many side missions, open sandbox, losing motivation-ness. And then I said to myself, like, right, this will all be here. All these side quests will still be here when I finish the game. So I'm just gonna power the main story missions. Like, I've spent plenty of time doing side missions and stuff. If I only spend another 10 hours on this game, I'll just finish the main story. And having that focus and making it more linear for myself completely changed it. Like, it became super, I got so much more engrossed in the story, I was enjoying the gameplay so much more. Really, like, following the path of the main quest gave you all of the crafting materials you needed. So if you play this, I would highly recommend taking time for side missions if you want to, if ones intrigue you. And then if you start to lose motivation, just head down the main path, just do the main missions, because then it becomes so much, it gets really, really gratifying, right? I really liked it. That's something that I tried to do with Assassin's Creed Odyssey. When I started to lose motivation for it, when it became a bit baggy, a bit big, I was like, okay, well then I'm enjoying the main story, so I'll just focus on that. But unfortunately, it followed a kind of story path where it's like, oh, go see this person for me, and I need this from them. Okay, and then you go there and you talk to them, and they're like, oh, I'm not doing that until you talk to these 3 people. And it's like, okay, and then they say, I'm not doing this until you do this for me. And so then it's just a kind of, to progress the main story, there's so much padding. I really felt like that game was very, very padded, and that itself made me lose motivation then for the main missions as well. And that was a shame. I feel like there was less of that in Horizon Zero Dawn. Maybe I'm just remembering it fondly because I liked the aesthetic a bit more, but it really seemed like when I decided, right, okay, I'll just focus on the main story and make that the game, that was easier in Horizon Zero Dawn than it was in, you know, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But also, because Assassin's Creed Odyssey introduced those, like, the level system and everything, you had to grind. So, like, that's probably why as well, like, part of what pulled me out of that element of it. You couldn't just do it on, you know, skill and preparation like you could in Horizon Zero Dawn. You had to grind, because if you happened across somewhere with higher level people, you just couldn't do it, which was a shame. Anyway, next up, Spider-Man. Like, again, this fantastic surprise. I think that I really did get quite hyped about it though, so I don't think it was as much of a surprise as Horizon Zero Dawn, but considering that it's like a franchise tie-in, it was just phenomenal. It's so good. Like, again, it's a sandbox, but it doesn't feel baggy. Like, I wanted to do everything. It feels like such a clean, tidy gaming experience, considering that it's in a sandbox. Everything was very, you know, the web slinging is so much fun, the combat's so much fun, and collecting the suits. And I actually like started to, I didn't do it in the end because I'm not that kind of person, but I did start to collect everything to 100% it. I haven't played the DLC yet, but honestly, if you haven't played this game, even if you're not really that into Spider-Man, like, it's really, really good. It's not connected to the movies, it's not connected to the comics directly, I don't think. Obviously, it's somewhat connected, it's got the same characters and some story features, but it's, you know, it's kind of its own universe, so it's good to jump into. It's, yeah, I really, really, really would recommend it. Like, it's so much fun and such a, again, this could also be quite linear if you want it to. You can just like follow the main story. That's what I did when I started to feel a little bit lost, a little bit, you know, spoiled for choice. I was just like, right, main missions, you know, play it like it was a linear game. And like that idea has now given me so much more enjoyment out of so many games I might not have finished before. It's just deciding like, right, I'm gonna play this like it was a linear game. And because the main story is often the most crafted part of the work, you just get so much enjoyment out of it. And you can become so much more involved in the story because you're not, you know, taking a 10-hour break to go around collecting Easter eggs in between the story elements. Now, I think this is the newest game in this little pile, because we just got it last Christmas, but Jedi Fallen Order. I really, really, really enjoyed this game. I feel like this was the Star Wars game I've wanted. Unfortunately, I didn't really relate to or like the main character very much. I think his story was good. Like, I just didn't like him. Does that make sense? I wanted to know more about like the backstories and stuff like that, which I think were, you know, I'm not going to give you any spoilers, but like every character is connected in a really cool way. And also it like has good flashbacks to the Clone Wars and stuff. It's really, really, like, I would highly recommend it. It was, you know, disappointing that you couldn't fight with 2 lightsabers. I'm just going to say that outright. But the combat style of being a bit more, I really liked how the combat evolves while you're in it. Like, you know, the fighting a gang of stormtroopers, you know, feels very different to, it's fun to like take down a gang of stormtroopers, but then it normally boils down to a one-on-one fight, which is like then where it comes into its own a little bit more, because it makes you feel much more skilled when you pull off those one-on-one fights. It's certainly very, very different. I think, I wouldn't know to say this, and I know that these games get compared to everything with this kind of play, but Dark Soulsy, I want to say. How it's like a bit more about like parrying and patience. It's nothing like, say, The Force Unleashed, where it's just about force lightning and taking down swathes of stormtroopers. It's not like that at all. Everything's a bit more tricky. But yeah, that's those. Okay, bye.